Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Judd joining you for this edition of Nate at 8. And coming up, we're talking a lot about temperatures. That's going to be the main story here going into the weekend. From there, we turn our attention to our one and only weather maker for this week, returning some rain for the weekend. So stay tuned. We're going to be mapping out our one and only round of rain this week. In addition to that, going to be talking about, again, our temperatures. As while we did have a little bit of warm up today, it's a cool down now as we go into the weekend before those temperatures spike up Saturday and drop back down into early next week. So a lot to discuss for this edition of Nate at 8. Again, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's jump on into things. And again, temperatures that'll be the big story here near term, and our current temperatures now falling from the 60s into the 50s. Those highs today were back in the 70s for most locations, thanks to more sunshine present going throughout the day. And we notice a little cloud cover in place continuing early on tonight. It's late tonight into tomorrow morning that we'll notice more clouds spill back into the area as our low temperatures do settle back into the mid-upper 40s across the area. There's a cloud cover present for tomorrow morning's commute, but notice the lack of any rain for tomorrow. We'll deal with cloud cover with a cold front passage, but not enough moisture in line with this frontal passage to produce any rain. Just going to be dealing with some cloud cover returning for tomorrow morning and continuing into tomorrow afternoon. By tomorrow evening, then, these clouds begin to break apart. Those high temperatures only make it around the mid 60s tomorrow afternoon, trending cooler with respect to the 70s we had for today. And once we see those skies then clear for tomorrow night, this will start a series of some pretty chilly mornings into Thursday and Friday, the exact timing that we had for last week for our chilly mornings. And the temperatures overall are likely similar to what we had last week, our lows into this Thursday and Friday, just like last Thursday and Friday. To give you an idea of how much those temperatures are going to be dropping off with clear skies into Thursday, those lows likely ending up back into the 30s Thursday morning. Lots of sunshine, going to be gorgeous Thursday. Highs only make it mid-lower 60s. And then for Friday morning, back into the 30s. And just like last week, that best potential for some frost occurs for this Friday morning as well. Notice we still deal with that a good amount of sunshine, but certainly notice more clouds starting to mix in for your Friday. That'll give way to a mix of sun and cloud Saturday, and then ultimately more of a dreary Sunday across the Ohio Valley as it's going to turn wet likely as well. But here near term, before we get to that round of rain this weekend, again, this is the story here near term, the big story, just dealing with, again, the drop in these overnight lows. Still chilly tomorrow morning, but it turns more cold Thursday and Friday morning with those lows just into the 30s Thursday, and then Friday with those lows mid to upper 30s. That presents better odds to deal with some frost across the area. Not that it's going to be widespread, but still some better odds in frost in general occurring for locations on Friday morning with respect to what we're going to deal with for Thursday morning. Still likely not quite cold enough to deal with widespread frost Friday. It's likely more scattered or patchy in nature, but just like last Friday, that potential is there for more frost for locations for this Friday morning. And from there, we lose that risk for any frost this weekend as temperatures spike up on Saturday, a surge of warmth out ahead of a cold front passage on Sunday. Highs are likely well in the 70s, even warmer with respect to what we had for today. And on top of the warmer conditions, Saturday still likely dry, a mix of sun and clouds, but still going to be nice weather. If you're planning anything outdoors this weekend, Saturday is going to be the day to plan it. If you can choose between the two, because again, by Sunday, not only cooler, we're dealing with some gusty winds, and that's where we're going to be dealing with our next round of precipitation with a cold front passage that drops those highs back 50s. Near 60 Monday, we could hold in the 50s early next week before temperatures climb towards the mid 60s going into next Wednesday. And like I mentioned, our one and only round of some precipitation is likely with that cold front passage on Sunday as high pressure exits on Saturday. Notice that we'll even likely start to spot some rain moving into our area for Saturday night. It'll be likely more in the latter part of Saturday night, but we'll notice this rain arrive by Sunday morning. So if you're heading out Sunday morning, be prepared. Already likely dealing with some rain, and it does look occasional throughout the day. I don't foresee too many breaks in this, unfortunately. It could be some occasional rain, can be heavy at times, a rumble of thunder, some gusty winds, and on top of that, of course, just some dreary, cloudy skies, and just overall more of a washout, unfortunately, Sunday. So again, not a good day for any outdoor plans. Good day to spend the day indoors, make some indoor plans on Sunday, but certainly Saturday going to be gorgeous to be outdoors Sunday, well, not so much. So just a heads up, if you got any outdoor plans on this coming Sunday, you're going to deal with a lot of rain, not just dodging a shower or two. This is a lot of rain coming our way, unfortunately, on Sunday, as we look into the latter part of this weekend. And a lot of this looks to exit by Monday morning. So only a slight chance for a lingering shower into Monday, Tuesday of next week. So a lot of this rain is out by Monday morning's commute, but we're going to be dealing with this even continuing into Sunday night before a lot of it tapers off going into Monday morning. So again, just a real soggy second half of the weekend. In terms of how much rain we can get, upwards of a half inch, maybe up to an inch of rain across the area. So good odds for at least a half inch of rain coming our way. It's still a decent amount of rain. And again, that's a lot of it falls throughout the daytime on Sundays when we'll see a lot of this. Can get some pockets of heavier rain and some higher amounts locally when we're dealing with some pockets of heavier rain and a rumble of thunder. It is possible as we go throughout the day on Sunday. So some higher amounts, even exceeding an inch, are possible, but for on a widespread scale, upwards of a half inch to an inch, within that range is where a lot of us can fall as we go throughout Sunday. And again, on top of this, I could see wind gusts at least up to 25 miles per hour, maybe upwards of 30 or more miles per hour. It'll be pretty breezy. I think that's the case not only Sunday, but even into Monday, likely going to be dealing with a breezy wind looking ahead into early next week. Austin, good evening. Ready for fall weather to stay? Getting tired of warm weather, hoping and praying the grass will stop growing. And these cooler nights certainly help with that, Austin. And you'll be a fan of those cold mornings. It certainly will help that grass from growing. And of course, these dry conditions also helping that as well. And, we'd see that round of rain on Sunday coming off of a entirely dry week. And it does help, Renee, it does certainly help, but it's, we're still dealing with dry conditions for most of the week and picking up our half inch to inch of rain all at once. And that seems to be the story as of recent. We're getting these spurts of higher rainfall amounts on top of then dry conditions for a long stretch. And just what we're dealing with this time around as well. A little bit of rain this past Sunday, but a lot of it was just a very light rain and not amounting to much at all in terms of rainfall totals. And dealing with from there, again, this is a real true round of rain coming our way this Sunday, this time around. So from one pretty dreary, damp Sunday to a wet and dreary Sunday, it's sometimes you'll notice these weather patterns, they do like to repeat themselves. And this is a perfect example from last week to this week that we get that cold Friday morning followed up by a pretty dreary Sunday. And again, this time around, this Sunday is going to be a lot more wet than last Sunday. Again, we're dealing a lot more measurable rain coming our way. Helps some, but I don't think it's going to put a big dent in these drought conditions, Renee. And ultimately, we can still see drought conditions be maintained, if not worsen. For the latest U.S. drought monitor. Of course, we'll have the one issue coming up this Thursday, but really even referencing next Thursday as it would reflect Sunday's rain next Thursday for the drought monitor. Is fall normally windy? Also, we do get some pretty gusty winds this time of the year, into spring as well. In these transitional seasons, we can typically get some gusty winds. It just has to do with the different air masses when we're dealing with, warm, cold air mass together. That temperature gradient can feed these wind speeds. So that's where you can get some of those gusty winds this time of the year and into spring as well. So yeah, you can deal with some pretty gusty winds. I know we've had the breeze as of recent for a lot of these days, and certainly going to see it again, especially by the time we get into Sunday into Monday. We can get some pretty gusty winds during that time period as well. So up until we get to Sunday, pretty quiet stretch of weather, lots of sunshine again. We'll see more of it break out later tomorrow. Blue skies and sunshine Thursday, going to be gorgeous. Friday, still quite a bit of sun, but we'll start to see more clouds spill in as we go throughout the day. Mix of sun and clouds Saturday. There's our dreary wet Sunday. And then back to more of a mix of sun and clouds early next week. And a slight chance, maybe a lingering shower early next week, but not overly wet. Certainly our one real wet day ahead here near term is going to be on Sunday. Outside of that, these days mostly, if not completely dry. And a lot of these days, it's not far from really normal values this time of the year. High temperatures, mid 60s, start to fall lower 60s for the second half of this month. So really, for a lot of these days, of course, the exception on Saturday, it's a pretty seasonable stretch of weather. Low temperatures, of course, well below normal with these 30s. Normal lows close to the mid 40s. And those high temperatures well in the 70s, far cry from the normal highs, mid 60s. But, overall, it's a pretty dry, seasonable stretch of weather that we have in place as we go throughout the next week. And yeah, we'll keep an eye on that drought monitor issued this coming Thursday. And next Thursday, I don't foresee really any improvement if it's maintained, if not worsening, likely drought conditions across the area for this drought monitor coming up this Thursday, and even that one next Thursday as well. With the way this pattern's setting up, and likely not enough rain to help put a big dent in this drought coming our way on Sunday. Still quite a bit, but just likely not enough to put a big dent in it. But it's good to see some, right? Good to see some in an overall dry pattern that we've been stuck in for a lot, not entirety, but a lot of the stretch from the end of July. We've had, some wet spells, mainly on the order of a day to several days the last week of September, but overall it's been pretty dry since the end of July. Not too many real wet days in the mix, that's for sure. But picking up over 2 inches in 4 days of rain at the Ohio County Airport certainly helped. That's what I mean. It's been these more short spurts that we've been dealing with, the wet weather. A lot of these days have had little to no measurable precipitation. It has been just really a short amount of days that have yielded a lot of the precipitation that's fallen over since the end of July, over the past over 2 months now here into the Ohio Valley. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. You can catch me coming up News 9 at 10 on Fox 9, News 9 tonight at 11 for the latest. And of course, for the next edition of Nate at 8 as well, the latest on how cold we're going to get going into Thursday and Friday morning, as well as, of course, the latest on that round of rain on Sunday. And of course, we get closer to Sunday, we'll start to dive into further details and more precise wind gusts that we can see, more precise in terms of precipitation totals, more precise in terms of timing. We'll start to dive into the more finer details of Sunday here over the next few days. So make sure to stay tuned for the latest on that as well. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful night. I'll see all of you on the next edition of Nate at 8 coming up tomorrow evening. Until then, have a wonderful night.